Hey, it's Amy with IP Exchange, and we've got a very special series with SuperLight Photonics about the world of photonics. And in this first part, I'll be talking to Cees Links, the CEO of SuperLight Photonics, for an introduction into exactly what photonics is, because it's a little bit separated from electronics, but it's an upcoming technology. Well, it has been around for years, but we're seeing it more used in our sphere. So let's welcome Cees Links. And first off, Cees, what is light and what is our current understanding of it today?
Light is very fascinating. There was light. Light is so common that we really have to step back and be fascinated by how special light is, because we are using it, every day. And when we miss it, we turn on the light. And if you think that's normal, well, there was a time that the only way to get light when there was no sunshine, that was, making a fire. We have come the last 200 years. We have come a long way, and light has commoditized. But in reality, it's something extremely fascinating. This commoditization, by the way, also has kind of changed the world. When we talk about the Industrial Revolution, we talk a lot about machines and going on into computers and aeroplanes, etc. But mastering light, being able to work day and night, if you like your work or not, that's a separate story. But light has really changed over the last 200 years, our culture, and has an impact that goes very, very deep. I also must say, we talk a lot about computers and internet and artificial intelligence. And that are all sexy subjects, but the impact of light over the last 200 years, and now in photonics, is amazing, and actually it's the start of a new era. And I can explain that a little bit more, because if you go to a retail store and you do scanning at the cashier, light and lasers in particular are an essential part of it. So light and the revolution of light into our daily life is something that, when you think about it, can only amaze us.
Nice. That was a really nice introduction. So if we take a step back, can you define photonics, and also can you compare it to the world of electronics? And what are the similarities, what are the differences?
Yeah, that's very interesting. The world has been ruled by electronics over the last 30, 40 years. And within electronics, in the electronics world, Moore's law is something that is, very well recognized as, that computer power doubles every, 1 year or 1.5 year, 2 years. We see that the world of electronics is running a little bit out of steam, but there is a successor, waiting in the wings, and that is photonics. And photonics can, have electronics pick up steam again, because photonics are using photons instead of electrons. Now, what is very interesting with photons, electrons are very heavy, at least very heavy compared to photons. Photons have no weight. They are weightless. They are a little bit unruly compared to electrons, but photons and the development of the photon integrated circuit technology will be able to pick up, integrate with electronics integrated circuits, and take it from there into photonics and photonics integrated circuits. And that is really going to be a really driver of the economy in the coming years. And we see it already happening now. We see it in data communications. We see it in many applications where light is being used and making a difference.
Cool. So, you talk about photonics in terms of almost a successor to electronics, or making electronics even more ready for the future, and you also described a couple of applications where it's currently being used today. But what does the photonics industry look like at the moment in general?
Yeah, the state of the photonics industry is very comparable with the electronics industry, say 20 or 30 years ago. It's still
Okay.
quite artisanal, and with artisanal I mean you have a lot of special solutions for special questions. Where the world of electronics, take as the example a cell phone. A cell phone in one side of the world is the same cell phone as in the other side of the world.
Hmm.
And the applications being run, have a lot of overlap and a lot of commonality. Photonics and photonics applications, it's still in a very early stage of identifying where photonic and photonic applications can be used. And there is still a lot of, specialties. And the expectation is over time, a lot of these specialties will commoditize and will make the use of photonics, more and more common, and not replacing electronic technologies, but way more building on top. A very practical example of photonics is fiber to the home. With fiber to
Okay.
the home,
Yeah.
you basically get the internet that is electronics translated into photonics, light, to your house, and then in your house it's converted back from photonics into electronics. So that's already an example where, and the reason is simple. Photons are very, they don't weigh a lot. They're very light. They're literally light. Yeah, they are light. So,
Yeah.
but so the amount of energy it takes for photons to go from one place to the other place, is significantly less, and that's why. In particular also, and we see that already today, the next step in data communications or in telecommunications, besides wireless is, using photons instead of electrons. Very exciting. These things are happening very, very quietly, but at the same time, very pervasively. So really unique.
Nice. So you very, very briefly mentioned photonic integrated circuits. So can you describe what is a photonic integrated circuit and what kind of functions can these devices perform?
Yeah. Well, a photonic integrated circuit is in a way the same as an electronic integrated circuit. Yeah, but instead of managing electrons going through, all the traces and all the paths through an electronic circuit, a photonic integrated circuit, has what are called light paths, because those photons need to go through the photonic circuit from one place to the other place, and going through that light path with photons. That is, instead of electrons, that is what is making a photonic integrated circuit different than a simple electronic integrated circuit. But you can start already at the simplest example, right? If you have a wire and you do internet over the wire, it are electrons that go from the server to your house. Well, if you have a photon, then it are photons that are going from the server to your house. And the photons now replace the electrons. So the same is happening in photonic integrated circuits compared to electronic integrated circuits. And then you can do, literally all the same things. You can make additions, you can start filtering, you can make if statements, you can stop photons at one place, you can have them going through at other places. In a way, you can start building very complex structures, but instead of then electrons being kind of hustled around through the circles, through the circuits, it have now become the photons being hustled around through the circuits. And of course, managing photons, that is a little bit different than managing electrons. The integrated circuits are comparable, but all the technology behind it is quite different, because photons are a little bit less woolly than electrons, so you need to have all kind of other measures to control that things work in the way you would like them to work.
Cool. And I suppose something that I would quite like to ask is, what would be the key benefit of photons over electrons in those kind of applications?
Yeah, ultimately the key benefit is that photons have no weight.
Okay,
and
so less power required.
So much less energy.
Yeah.
than electrons because you have to carry all that weight around. Now, I mean that is at a very high abstract, also almost at the physical level. At a very practical level, I mean, photons, can behave, or you can do the same things with photons as with electrons. Only you need to manage them a little bit differently. The other thing that is probably interesting to mention is, the electronics industry is already a gigantic industry. Photonics is not going to replace electronics. Photonics is going to build on top of it. So one of the major challenges, of course, is how do you integrate photonics with the existing world of electronics, and that's quite a challenge, and that is why this photonics industry has a lot of things to sort out, to understand, to be able to manage, because photons have the inclination to escape everywhere, and you want to keep them under control. So you want to make sure that they are going the path that you want them to go. So that is where the challenges are today.
Excellent. So you talked a bit about kind of fiber internet and computing as two key markets for photonics, but what other applications are out there that either currently are using photonics or where photonics might be like kind of a winner?
Photonics is being used in a lot of medical applications, in a lot of industrial applications. You can include agriculture and spectroscopy. Let me explain a little to make it really tangible. In medical applications, researching your eye, or endoscopy, where a doctor through a fiber, through an artery, can look inside in your body. Well, it's pretty dark inside in your body, so you need some light, and there is where you get the use of laser light, and the use of photonics in the first place. What we also know is if you heat material, then it will start radiating colors. And if you can with photonics, find out what type of colors there are, you can identify what material it is, and that is a form of spectroscopy where in a lot of industries that is being used. But you can also detect viruses, or you can detect bacteria, or you can detect contamination of soil. So if you can look at light, or look at how light is reflected. When you shine light on it, what light is reflected, it tells you something about the substance that you are looking at. So also that is a whole space of photonics. And then in the industrial space, just think about quality, about being able to identify cracks in material that you want have no cracks for safety or security reasons. Think about wings of airplanes, think about bridges, but also think about computer chips. Computer chips are very, very small and narrow. They need very precise light to be able to make these very small computer chips. So in your daily life, you see a lot of special light and lasers, but also very practical in the industry, in the medical world, in the agricultural world. Light is being used in multiple ways beyond imagination.
And I think that's a beautiful way to end this introduction to photonics. So thank you very much, Cees, for joining me today. And in part 2, we'll be talking about SuperLight Photonics supercontinuum laser. So that's going to be very exciting. Where should people go if they want to learn more about SuperLight Photonics?
Well, go to our website or step by in our facilities.
Just out of interest for any of our viewers, are there any trade shows you go to, or exhibitions or conferences that they might be interested in? I
mean, we are located in Europe, and we go to most of the important trade shows in Europe. So you can find it at EPOC, you can find us at Vision, you can find us at Photonics Europe. But quite often we go to California as well, Photonic West. This is one of the shows that we go and display our products.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Cees. And I look forward to talking about more SuperLight Photonic technology in part 2 and part 3 of this series.
You're very welcome.